Hey guys, welcome back to Krista's Creations. Today I have for you another video of the next stage of my coloring of Olympia. This is my recreation of a well-known work of art and part of my preparation for grad school. If my application gets accepted, I need to show a portfolio of my work of art, and one of the requirements was to have a piece that is a recreation of another artist's work. I think it's to show how well the artist can pay attention to detail, how well they can match their work to a previous work of art, because with art conservation, which is what I want to do, you have to be able to be detail-oriented, you have to have good hand skills, hand-eye coordination, you got to be able to match colors, because if you need to repair, let's say, a painting, and there is some paint loss because, let's say, the canvas has a scratch or it broke in one section or got ripped in one section, and some little flakes of paint would probably come off. So you need to be able to match the colors and try to fill in that area with the same color as what's around it. So that's how my understanding is of what the recreation of a work of art is for. So that is what I am doing here. I am saving Olympia, the main subject figure, for last because I am a little bit intimidated and I do not want to mess this up. So I'm using the background, the bedding, the cat, the serving girl there. They're all kind of practice as I work up toward Olympia. I mean, overall, I think this is coming along very well. If you watched my previous videos of Olympia, you might have heard me mention that I am using Prismacolor pencils for this project. I really like them. They're very nice. They blend smoothly. They go on the paper nice and smooth. They can create really pretty and vibrant colors. And that brush you see every now and again is me just sweeping off any little crumbs that come from the Prismacolor pencil. You get little pieces that'll break off. Doing it that way with a brush instead of using my hand means I won't smear those little pieces onto my hard work, which I have definitely done in the past before I learned to use a brush. So I was also even nervous about doing the face of the serving girl here. I'm a little less intimidating doing her face because hers is so dark. It's kind of a little easier to hide mistakes. Details aren't quite as clear. So that makes me feel a little more comfortable. If I mess up, it'll be a little bit hidden and no one will really know. But she was a lot of fun to do after the fact. During the time, I was like, oh my gosh, don't mess it up. But she was a lot of fun to do. I've done light-skinned people in the past, but I've never done a color to dark-skinned person before. So it was definitely new territory, and I had to do a little test swatches before I started on this final version. And as I go along, I was a little nervous because the face wasn't coming out looking that great. It looks a little wonky at sometimes. It was like, oh my gosh, can I fix this? But, adding layers, adding colors, adding shadows, eventually just luckily all comes together, thank goodness. I had been worried the nose was a little too short or the eyes weren't spaced far apart enough. Now this isn't probably the biggest piece I've ever worked on in the past. It is definitely one of the bigger pieces. I filled a sheet this size before. I think it's 14 by 17 inches. And this was many, many years ago when I made a page this big. Oh, I've done a couple. I made a red-winged blackbird. I've done a dragon, and this is in colored pencils on these big sheets. It takes a long time to do when it's on the bigger sheet. I can't remember if I mentioned in my past video of Olympia, but as you can see, I'm not going all the way to the edges with this image. The first reason for that is because the dimensions are not the same from the reference image I got to my sheet of paper. So Edouard Manet's painting was wider, obviously, than tall, but his was a lot skinnier. How do you say this? As you can see in the image here, I have a lot more white space at the tops and bottom of the image than the right and left sides. So if I wanted to get this image to fit the whole sheet, I would have had to cut off some of the edges, and I really did not want to cut off the cat because it was super cute. And I really didn't want to cut off anything from the left-hand side, which has Olympia's elbow and her pillows. So I had to shrink it to fit. And the other reason to have the border is for handling purposes. So when you're touching the piece, that you don't really want to touch the hard colored pencil. The hard work you put into the colored pencil part. You don't really want to smudge it. Fingers have, the oils, the natural oils and stuff, and that can affect the quality. The quality? Have you ever seen a sculpture, like a bronze sculpture out in the city or something, and one spot is more shiny than the rest of it? That's from people's hands touching it in one area, and hands touching would wear away the surfaces, like any tarnishing or antiquing going on, and I'm sure the oils play a part in too, the way the color changes in the sculpture. So that's kind of what I want to prevent here in Olympia by having the border, so you can handle the edge of the sheet without having to put your fingers on the colored pencil surface. And then when you're framing it, you get that bit of edge and you're not losing any of your artwork, because with the matte board going over it, you would have to cover at least like 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch of your piece, and while that's not really a whole lot to lose, it's still some. So that white border is really nice for both handling and framing purposes. Okay, so a little checklist of what I've done so far. I've done the background, I've done Olympia's bed, I've done her pillows, I've done her blanket with those pretty flowers and the yellow tassels, I've done the cat, I've done her shoes, I've done the serving girl's clothes, her bouquet of flowers. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, I probably did. The bouquet of flowers is a gift for Olympia from one of her suitors, in case you were curious, that the serving girl is presenting to Olympia. Anyway, all I have left is Olympia herself, her jewelry, her flower, and I'll do her face last. Thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure. Until next time, bye guys!